Hello and welcome to Gloucester Cathedral, a glorious and magnificent medieval building, formerly the Abbey Church of St. Peter's Abbey, one of the most powerful and wealthiest monasteries in medieval England. In recent years, Gloucester has become known alongside its historical significance as one of the key locations for the filming of the Harry Potter movie series. They were here in Gloucester from the first film right through until the sixth, filming key scenes, because one of the things they were looking for when they began making the films were historic locations that could play the role of an ancient school of wizardry and witchcraft, Hogwarts. And of course, places like medieval castles and medieval university colleges and cathedrals and former monasteries were the ideal places because they were beautiful medieval buildings that had exactly the look that they wanted to bring to their on-screen depictions of Hogwarts School. So we are going to take a walk around the cloisters here at Gloucester, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the many Harry Potter scenes that were filmed here. So here is the cloisters of Gloucester Cathedral. It's the place where the monks would have spent a lot of their time, where they would have worked. There were other buildings off this where they would have slept, where they would have eaten and so on. But the cloister here is a magnificent medieval structure with this beautiful fan vaulting from the 14th century. And as you look around here, you really do feel you are walking through history and the perfect place for some of the main corridors of Hogwarts School. When it came to locations, a lot of the scenes that involved large numbers of actors, so when you had whole classes of Hogwarts students on the move or people coming and going in the corridors, they were done it here at Gloucester because of the scale of the cloisters here. They're much bigger than cloisters in some of the other locations that they used. And so as we come here, and I can say to you, welcome to Hogwarts. On the very first night at Hogwarts, in the very first Harry Potter film, they go to the Great Hall, all of the students are sorted into their houses, and then they have dinner, and then they go to their respective common rooms for their houses. And all of the Gryffindor students, including, of course, Harry and Ron and Hermione and Neville and Seamus and all the rest of them, where do they go? Well, they are led along this corridor. This is exactly where they walk. They have to follow Percy Weasley to the Gryffindor common room. We don't have moving staircases here, of course, that's all CGI. But this is exactly where they filmed that scene with Percy leading the students to the Gryffindor common room. And he brought them all, so all of the actors were here, a lot of extras as well. And this is where he brought them to. And when they eventually come to the Gryffindor common room, that door, which was closed for the scene, was where they come to. They have to give the password, and then it opens. And what we see inside here, well, that's not the Gryffindor common room. They didn't make a set here. There is an incredible Gryffindor common room set at the Warner Brothers Studios at Leavesden. And what they did was essentially to put a huge photograph of that studio set behind the door here, so that when that door starts to open, the little glimpse you get is just the studio set that the students can then go into. So your first night in Hogwarts, you come down here. And a lot of films in the series, of course, but the main location work was done in the first two movies, because you're really setting the scene. You are creating Hogwarts in the imagination of everybody who's watching the film. You're establishing exactly what kind of place it is. As you go through to the later films, there's less and less of the films are about just everyday goings on in the school. They are more, there's a lot more action scenes that require a lot of CGI. They're not doing so much on location work. They do come back to some of these key locations for some scenes, but you're not getting a lot of major scenes here on location in the way you do in the first two films. So, that first film, one of the scenes quite early in the film, I suppose, is when Professor Quirrell runs into the Great Hall and Professor Quirrell announces that a troll has escaped and is loose in the school. So, of course, what do they have to do? There's a massive panic, but they all have to follow the prefects back to their common rooms. And what we see is all the Gryffindors going off. But it was filmed at night. And actually, what you will notice is that they filmed the students going through this door here. And this door actually leads into the garden of the former abbey, beautiful spot in the centre of the cathedral. And as you came through here, it was at night, and you didn't really get the idea that you were going outside, but you know you are in this spot, because if you look very carefully, there is a scene, there's a part of that scene where Harry and Ron stop and they realise that Hermione's not there because she has gone to feeling sorry for herself, and she's gone crying in the toilets. And you see directly behind Harry and Ron this carved head. That's how you know that film scene was made exactly here. Rupert Grint and Daniel Radcliffe stood right here and were filmed having that conversation. This is a modern sculpture. It's one of the modern priests who was dean of the cathedral. It was created in the 1990s. So actually it was really much clearer, much less weathered at the time the films were made than even than it is now. And Harry and Ron then dash back off. They go back to find Hermione. And that scene continues with more filming here in Gloucester, because this stained glass window was covered over and with a wooden panel with a door inset into it, and it represented the entrance to the girls' bathrooms, which is where Hermione was. And that's where the troll goes. Now, of course, the troll itself was computer generated, but they wanted to make sure that Daniel Radcliffe and Rupert Grint were looking in the right place to actually look at the troll, so that when they matched up the computer-generated troll figure to the real actors, that it would look correct. And of course, they were both very young at that time. They were very inexperienced. So to help them, they actually made feet and legs. They made a model of the feet and legs of the troll in the right dimensions, and they stood it just here in front of the entrance to the girls' bathrooms, so that when the two actors were there, they'd sort of think, okay, that's his legs, so his head is up there, and then they'd be looking in exactly the right angle to match up to the computer-generated troll, and the troll then goes into the bathrooms. But the troll doesn't spot Harry and Ron. Why? Because they are hiding here. This is a part of the cloister where it's called the lavatorium. It's where the monks used to wash themselves. And you can step through here. And Harry and Ron hid behind these columns, and they were able to spy and to watch the troll going in there, and then to decide that they needed to go and rescue Hermione. Now, it's not the only time that someone hid behind these columns, because we jump all the way forward to the 6th film, Half-Blood Prince. And there's a scene where it's the evening of Slughorn's dinner party, and Harry overhears Snape talking to Draco Malfoy, and he's talking to him and having a little bit of a go at him, I suppose, and he mentions the fact that he has entered the unbreakable vow with Narcissa, Draco's mother, to help him. Now, Harry doesn't quite at that point realise exactly what the task is that Draco is being helped with, but he overhears Snape and Malfoy having this conversation. How does he do it? Because once again, he is hiding behind these columns in the corridor. So, yeah, pretty amazing. First film, 6th film, same place. Now we're coming to a corner of the cloister that was used for multiple scenes in film number 2, The Chamber of Secrets. And that is because the wall at the end of the cloister here, this is where all of the messages and all of the little gifts from the chamber were left. So it was on this wall. Now the cathedral cloister on the east side is being restored at the moment. We have today's stonemasons restoring the medieval stonework. You might hear the little tapping of their hammers as we go along. But it was on this wall here that the message was written. Chamber of Secrets has been opened, enemies of the air beware. And the subsequent messages. It was here that the message was found. It was here that the petrified cat, Mrs. Norris, was discovered, and all of the people who've been petrified and left there, all of those scenes were filmed right here on this spot. The interesting thing about that is that means that all of the lead actors from the films were here, because all the teachers are brought here to look what's going on. All of the main student characters are there, so all of the lead actors were here to create those scenes, along with a load of extras. Extras for the scenes at Gloucester Cathedral were provided by the school adjacent to the cathedral, which is called the King's School. Grew out of the medieval Abbey School when the Abbey was here. Those students had to sign confidentiality agreements, of course, non-disclosure agreements, because they were involved in the filming. Now, there was another scene for that film made on this corner, and that is the scene where Moaning Myrtle floods the corridor. Now, I don't know why they didn't do that in a studio and merge the shots, but they decided they were actually going to do it here in the cloister. Now, you can't just flood a 600-year-old cloister for the sake of a few seconds of film, but what they did was to create a big wooden trough here in this corner, and then through the little corridor here to the outside, they had a big tanker full of water, and they pumped it through hoses, filled up the water here, so it looked as though the corridor was flooded, and that doorway that leads out of the cathedral towards the school, that was then the entrance to Myrtle's bathroom. So very important scenes in the second film made on this corner. And as we go through the little bit that's being restored here, I'll show you something else that we see in the second films as well. Now, a lot of the stained glass windows, they had to kind of mask them for the filming because they are Christian religious scenes, and of course Hogwarts is not a Christian building. It's a school of witchcraft and wizardry. So religion is not really something that comes into the Harry Potter stories particularly. But there are other stained glass windows that they were able to use. And they used these ones, and again in the second film, when we see Ron and Harry, they look at the spiders and they see that the spiders are trying to escape. It's one of the clues to what's going on in the Chamber of Secrets. And they use these actual stained glass windows where Ron is looking at the spiders and asking why it has to be spiders and why can't it be butterflies that they have to follow. But they were able to use these ones because they're not religiously themed stained glass. Now, this whole eastern cloister was used in the 6th film. Early in the film, it's the scene where all of the students are picking up their timetables for the new school year, and the corridor is absolutely packed with Hogwarts students. A lot of extras from the school nearby needed on that day, and Harry is kind of trying to climb up to have a look because he's looking for Ron, and he climbs up. Daniel Radcliffe climbed up here on this little sort of step on the ledge here, and he's looking out over the sea of students trying to find Ron, when he is called over by Professor McGonagall, and Professor McGonagall tells him. Discusses with him his timetable and tells him that with the new potions teacher Slughorn, he can actually continue studying potions with the grades that he got. And she suggests that he goes off and finds Ron and gets on his way to his lessons. And that all takes place here at the entrance to the Cathedral Chapter House. So that's where you can see students milling around into and out of a side room there. That's exactly where this is. And it's right here where Dame Maggie Smith and Daniel Radcliffe have that conversation. So they're back here again, where they started filming all those years before to make that scene for Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And that brings us a complete circuit of the cloister here. So I hope you have enjoyed this little trip around Hogwarts and some of the secrets from all of the Harry Potter movies and the scenes that were made here at Gloucester. If you want to see more of my tours, check out my YouTube channel, check out the links that you can find there. And if you'd like to support my work, you can find links there for that too. And I hope to see you very, very soon.